Hello everyone, my name is Virginia. Welcome to Virginia Bakes. Today we are going to make an apple frangipane galette. That's just a fancy way of saying a pie, a rustic pie, without a pie plate. It's like a freeform pie. So our first step is going to be to start rolling out our pie dough. Now, if you use a store-bought dough, then you should already have like it should be about a 12-inch round circle for a 9-inch pan so that it has the space to go up the sides and overlap the edge. So I'm going to roll out my pie dough that I made and kept well wrapped and in the fridge. I'll link the video below for the all butter pie crust. And it makes 2 of these discs, so 2 9-inch crusts. And by 9-inch, we mean like the final product is a 9-inch pie. But we're going to want to roll this out to like a 12-inch circle. So I'm going to flour my surface, flour the top of the pie crust, flour the roller, and start working this into a disc. And I'll continue flouring the surface as needed as I go. I'm just going to try to get this into a 12-ish, inch-ish, circle-ish disc. Like none of this has to be perfect. If you've got some splitting edges, you can kind of bring those back together. That's the beauty of this pie, is it's rustic, you see. And by that we mean we can be messy. And it's still beautiful. It really is super pretty, the end result. If you can see, you can see all of our beautiful butter chunks. That's what's going to make this pie crust super flaky at the end. This pie crust I use has vinegar in it. It's not something you can taste in the end result, but what it does is it like inhibits the gluten formation in the flour, so it makes rolling out easier. It also reduces that shrinking that happens when it's baked. If it's not cold enough when it goes into the oven, you run the risk of it shrinking, and that can be really annoying. So be sure to check out the all butter pie crust video. The link is in the description. Not sure I'm a big fan of these French style rolling pins that sort of taper on the ends. So you have all this rocking and back and forth. I forget why I have this one and not. I had one that was a solid width, consistent width all the way down. I don't know where it's gone off to. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this. Got some nice rustic edges that will look beautiful in the final result. And I'm going to transfer this to my baking sheet by rolling it onto the pin. Moving the baking sheet over, and then unrolling it onto the baking sheet. It might be a little too wide for this, but it won't be too wide for the finished product because we fold the edges over. So I'm not worried about it. We're just going to go with that for now and adjust as needed later. Okay, so there we go. We have our messy, floury 12-inch crust ready to go. I'm going to put this back in the fridge so the butter stays nice and cool while we make the frangipane and the apple filling. Our pie crust is rolled out. It's in the fridge. If you use a store-bought one, you can just start from here. Next, we're going to get into our apples. Okay, here we go. I had to Google which apples to use for something like this because I don't have any kind of preference between apple varieties. I'm sure I'm sure any old apple will do. I went with Honeycrisp for this. Google said that that was a good one. Now, the other, we're going to core and slice our apples. Well, I don't have an apple core. Why would I? And I didn't want to spend money on something I most likely will never use again. So what I did have is here we go, biscuit cutter, a very small biscuit cutter, but a biscuit cutter nonetheless. And so I've come up with this ingenious way. Maybe not the best, I'm not recommending it, but I'm making do. I'm just using the edge of the biscuit cutter to sort of slice out that core, right? Like that. That'll do. That's good enough, right? There we go. And then we're just going to slice our apples into like 1/4 inch thickness. If you have a better way of slicing apples, let me know. I Googled it, I looked on Pinterest, I wasn't really impressed with the options. And this seems to make the most consistent looking slices, in my opinion. I'm gonna put those in there. And we're doing 3 apples worth. We should be able to fit all of these apples in the galette. But even if we don't, you can, you know, maybe saute the leftovers in a little bit of butter. I wished I liked apples because it sounded like it would be good. Like if you sauteed them in some butter and then maybe put them on top of a pancake or something. It's just not for me. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna get these other 2 apples cut. Do I have anything else to say about apples? I think that I do. Maybe I should explain my deal with apples. Can I eat them? Yes, I can eat them. They don't make me gag or puke or anything like that. I just will be very resentful that I'm eating an apple. I will only do it in dire circumstances, like there's nothing else to eat. I'm stuck at a place where I've got to eat something, and this is the only option is an apple. Fine, I'll eat an apple. Or, I mean, if somebody made me something with apples in it, which I have had that happen, I will eat it. I will gladly eat it and compliment them on their baking. I can tell when something is baked well, even if it has apples in it, obviously. Like I get that it's going to be a delicious thing for someone who likes apples. I just happen to not be one of those people. If I have to eat an apple in one of those, you know, crazy circumstances. Oh, by the way, if you want to, you can unpeel these. I'm leaving the peel on. I think it maybe kind of looks prettier at the end. What I do when I eat an apple is that either I have to peel it, because I don't like the skin. Can't stand the skin. It's like paper. Who wants that? I don't like that texture. And then I don't like the texture. It's a completely different texture, but the texture of the apple inside, no thank you. I don't care for it. Pears, kind of the same situation. You can have a little bit of a different texture, but yeah, same kind of thing. I don't like the papery skin, and I just don't like the texture, baked or fresh or baked. Either way. And then now with apples, it's gotten to where the taste just is like, ugh, apple taste. And the smell. And it's fall and there's apple smells everywhere. Like it smells nice, but it's like, I know what's behind it. I know there's an apple behind that smell. So I'm like, oh, I don't want apple candles in my house or anything like that. I don't mind the flavor when it's like combined with other things. Like I use apples in my Christmas, not Christmas, my Thanksgiving turkey, like in the brine and in the stuffing. What's the kind of stuffing that comes out? Like you don't eat it. It's we put in like onions and celery and limes and oranges and apples into the inside, the cavity of the turkey. I'm getting off track. I can handle apples is what I'm saying. If I have to, I can eat them. All right, so our apples are cut. What is next? We're gonna toss these with some lemon juice to keep them from browning. Because heaven forbid you have a brown apple in there. They're just prettier when they're nice and fresh looking, even after they're baked, right? Browned apples baked, I'm sure aren't particularly pretty. Okay, we're gonna set that aside for just a moment and we're gonna finish the rest of the topping that goes, it's not really a topping, it's just the mixture to add to that, which is going to be 50 grams of dark brown sugar. We're gonna pretend this is dark brown sugar, and then I did not forget to pick up dark brown sugar. I automatically buy light brown sugar and I always have it on hand. And so I just was unprepared, I'm sorry. To the 50 grams, which is a quarter cup of dark brown sugar, we're adding a teaspoon of cinnamon and a half a teaspoon of salt. And give that a stir. No, with something dry. Hold on. Okay, we're going to stir this up. And smush any clumps of dark brown sugar. And I'm going to add this, like, I don't know, in quarters or thirds to the apples and stir it up before adding another quarter or third-ish amount, so that we can get it spread throughout the apples pretty evenly. Oh, okay. Smells like fall. You also know that it's fall because I have pumpkins in the background. You're welcome. Enjoy those as I block them with my person. Now this ends up creating, as they kind of sit here, while we make the frangipane, these apples are going to get juicy. You want to make sure not to add that juice to the final product. You'll see, we'll talk about it when we get there. Okay, I think that's combined pretty well. It's already starting to get juicy as the lemon juice combines with the sugar and breaks that down, and then the juices from the apples are coming out, one assumes. So we're just going to set this aside while we make the frangipane. And now it's frangipane time. For me, this is the saving grace of this recipe. I love almond flavored stuff, and so when I was like, okay, it's fall, I should do something apple related. What could I combine with apple? And frangipane immediately came up, and it's a very common thing because it works really well. So frangipane is just an almond battery paste. I don't know if those are the best words to describe it, but it's an almond mixture, an almond flour based, and there's almond extract and stuff, and it just gives this lovely almond flavor that will combine in theory really well with apples, you'll have to tell me. So we're going to start our frangipane with 60 grams of almond flour. The almond aroma is really delightful. It's a lovely counter to the apple smell that's going on in here. That's okay. All right, we've got 60 grams of our almond flour. That's half a cup of almond flour. And then we're going to want 3 tablespoons or 40 grams of sugar. Since I have everything on the scale, I'm just going to weigh the sugar. Let me say 40 grams. 37, 38, 39, 40. Okay. Don't think I need that anymore. Then to this we will add, I've already weighed it out, 28 grams of unsalted butter. That's 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to save this for my egg cracking setup. If you've seen my videos, you know what I'm talking about. And then before we add the egg and the almond extract, we're going to, before we add the egg and the almond extract, we're going to whip this until it's fluffy. Doesn't really, I don't know that fluffy is the right term here. Oh, I think I'm supposed to add a pinch of salt. And the salt, yeah, hold on, let me do that real quick. Pinch of salt, not about, there we go. So this doesn't get fluffy so much as it gets, I'm not gonna say it. I'm just gonna wait until you see it. I don't know how to describe it. And this could take a few minutes to get there, so especially if using a less powerful hand mixer. Like, hand mixers aren't bad. Compared to stand mixer, obviously stand mixers are the strongest. Then a hand mixer with a cord is stronger. This battery powered hand mixer, not so much. But it was so cute and it's so convenient. Oh, it's a little greasy. That's not just showing me from my fingers. What I'm trying to do here is get the butter worked into the sugar evenly and the almond flour evenly. It will really get fluffy and creamed once we add the egg. I think my butter could have been a little more room temperature than it was. You can see it's causing some struggles here. That's okay. Haven't mentioned I'm not a professional. I mean, come on. I'm an enthusiastic home baker. I'm not always going to get this stuff right. But this is an example of why you would want, one of the reasons why you want your butter to be room temperature is it's just easier to work with, especially when you're trying to do something like creaming the butter into sugar. Now, obviously, with the pie crust or with something like brownies or scones, you don't want the butter room temperature. You do want it cold. There's times it really does make a difference, and it's why it's kind of super important to follow the instructions. If the instructions are well written, they shouldn't lead you astray. Almost got all the bigger butter chunks broken down. Okay, so as I think you should be able to. So as I think you should be able to see, it's not necessarily fluffy, but it's kind of like really wet, clumpy sand, maybe. It's gonna really come together and fluff up when we add the egg, which we will do now. So now we're going to add our egg and almond extract. That's 1 egg and half a teaspoon of almond extract. Now, again, frangipane, lots of different options of how to make it in different ratios. And I saw some with more almond extract and some with less almond extract. I kind of went with the middle of the road. So if you like a more intense almond flavor, bump it up to this. Where I based this recipe off of, they had a whole teaspoon of almond extract, so you could do that. I probably wouldn't go higher than that. I think it might be overwhelming at that point. Okay. We're just gonna beat this in for about 2 minutes as well. I'm going to give the bowl a scrape halfway through. Just realizing that I'm constantly tweaking my camera setup, and I'm just realizing that if I leave this on the surface, it's kind of jiggling the camera, which is attached to the surface by it's like clampy thing. I don't know that that's gonna work. I hadn't noticed that yet. Maybe that was, you were seeing that in previous episodes, and I apologize. But yeah, we're getting a nice fluffy almondy batter here. So our frangipane, as far as I'm concerned, is good to go. Okay. That means that we are ready to assemble our galette. All right, we are ready to assemble our galette. So I pulled the nice chilled pie crust out of the fridge. I did kind of rearrange it a little more centered on the baking sheet. What we're going to do is we're going to first add our frangipane at the center. And we're going to spread it out to about 2 inches from the edge. Just going to eyeball that again. This is rustic, which means we can get away with a lot of unevenness, messiness. If that's something about baking that kind of holds you back, is like, oh, I'm not that neat, I'm not that precise, then things like galettes should be right up your alley. And they're so impressive the finished product is so impressive. It just looks beautiful. Good try. Don't worry about how messy you are. Okay, that's good. Then I'm gonna give these apples one final stir. You can put these on here any way you like. If you have a apple slice arrangement in your mind's eye and you want to try it, go ahead. I'm going to do 3 rows, alternating kind of back and forth. So this might be a little, let me get this out of the way. A little time consuming, but I think it looks good. I do think it looks really pretty. This is a really pretty dessert. I haven't tried it yet. I haven't tasted it. I just don't know that I'm gonna like it because of the apples. I wanna like it. Again, we're just leaving behind the juices because that would probably lead to a very soggy bottom, which Mary Berry would not approve, and it isn't pleasant. Oops, you get it. All right, that's one ring. Now I'm going to go the other direction. I feel like I might have overly added apples to that first ring and I might be running low, so I'm going to kind of be a little more conservative on this. I think we're good. We're good. Might scooch them over a smidge. I can fit one more in there. And I still have enough for a final inner ring. Okay, and then one last inner ring. Again, reversing direction. No, but the middle bits at the middle. The inner bits of the apple at the middle. Since this is my last ring. That one's broken. Some of these slices are much smaller than others. That's one gripe I have about like recipes, and it's the same with like making preserves. When like a recipe will call for, what's happening here? They're kind of overlapping in the wrong direction. When a recipe calls for like a number of fruits, but not the information about how much that fruit should yield. So like it said 3 apples. Well, 3 small apples, 3 medium apples, 3 large apples. I don't know. I guess, I mean, these looked small to me, and I think 3 is just right. The other day, I think mine were a little bigger, and I had lots of apples left over, so I'm going to change the recipe to read small apples. That I would prefer if something were to say, and maybe it's hypocritical because mine does not say, X amount of grams of apple slices, or something along those lines, something more quantitative. Is that the right use of quantitative? I hope so. Okay, now for the fun part. We are going to fold the edge over and kind of give it a little tuck as you go. And this is how we are free-forming our apple pie galette. Okay. Then our last step will be to give this an egg wash and get some of the excess flour off. Give this an egg wash and sprinkle it with some coarse sugar, like just a plain coarse sugar, or you could do like a demerara. Am I getting that right? Okay, so I've just got my single egg here. I'm gonna give it a good whisk. Just make a mess. And then with a little pastry brush, with or without pastry brush handle, I need a new pastry brush. I'm gonna brush this on our crust, pie crust. This is going to give our crust a really, really pretty shiny golden color, and it'll help the sugar adhere for the baking. I think it also may technically keep it from drying out. Don't quote me on that. I need to look that one up. It just seems like that's something that would happen with this coating on the outside. You do want to make sure you don't get too much, you don't want it like pooling up anywhere, because then that's just going to become like a clump of scrambled egg on your pie, and that's kind of weird. Beautiful. Okay. And then with clean fingers, or you know what? Let's be reasonable and use a spoon. In fact, I'm going to use my sugar spoon for my set, because this is sugar, so it just makes sense. We're going to sprinkle the coarse sugar, whatever kind you decide to use, all around the outside. And that's it. This is ready to go in the oven. If you've used a store-bought pie crust, this is even easier. I bet you could experiment and try it with a puff pastry sheet. You know, those ones you can buy in the freezer section. Okay, so this is going to go in a 375-degree oven for 35 to 40 minutes. We're looking for a golden brown crust and an internal temperature of, I think it's 195 to 205. I will double check that. With about 10 minutes left on the galette, I started warming up some apricot preserves. Let me show you. All right, so I've just got my little warmer here. I've warmed up some apricot preserves. Just store-bought is fine. I mean, if you make preserves and you have them of your own, that's even more amazing. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this as a glaze on the top of the apples when the galette comes out of the oven. So I'm just pouring this preserves into a strainer. Can I get it all in there? And then I'm just going to strain out the chunky bits and use the more liquid, sugary, syrupy bit for our glaze. This is something I've seen so many times on Great British Baking Show. I've never done it. Have I? I don't think I have. Such a neat little trick. And you could probably use, I don't see why you couldn't use any type of preserve, any flavor that you prefer. I think apricot is more traditional with apple. I'm not sure why, but, or maybe it's just more traditionally used as a glaze in this manner. It seems to be very common to use apricot, and I feel like that's what I've seen the most. So I'm just kind of pressing through the sieve, getting, I don't even think we'll need that much. Okay, so there's my glaze that we're going to use. Okay, here's our galette out of the oven. I'm going to slide it off onto a cooling rack. Beautiful. And we are going to take our glaze, and because we didn't really have any kind of a juicy, saucy mixture in with the apples, they kind of look to me like on the dry side. So that's where this glaze is just going to really beautify our finished dessert, our finished galette. We're just going to paint some glaze on top. I did confirm the internal temperature should be between 194 and 203. That's because of our imperial system. Something like 90 to 95 in Celsius. Don't quote me on that, but it's a more of a reasonable range of numbers and not a random feeling range of numbers. 194 to 203 seems like some rather arbitrary numbers, but they aren't. And that's how you'll know that it's done inside. Okay, it smells fantastic. It smells like apples and almonds and all good things. You can serve this warm, like I do have some vanilla ice cream left over from, no, I'm not doing it. You can serve it warm with some ice cream would be lovely. Or cooler, maybe with some fresh whipped cream on top would be nice. I'm just going to have a slice. I can do this. I need a knife. Wish me luck. Okay, here we go. It's probably not the wisest thing to cut it on a cooling rack. Oops. Disturbed an apple slice. Yeah, this is why you don't want to cut it on a wire rack. It's not exactly cutting. Okay, here we go. Oh no, I left an apple behind. No, not that. How's the crust? Okay. I'm gonna say the crust could have probably used a little longer. It is still warm. I mean, oh, there was a little layer of crust left at the bottom. I think it's okay. I'm gonna just do this. Okay. Okay, if I had to eat apples, it's got to be with some almond. That is not bad. That I could handle for sure. I'm not as resentful about the apples when it's surrounded by this delicious crust, all butter crust. And the frangipane, really, that's the saving grace for me, for a non-apple fan. It's really pretty good, and I think the apples were sliced thin enough that I don't notice so much the texture or the skin. This with some ice cream would actually be not half bad, okay? I'll admit it. And I think if you're an apple fan, if you really do like apples, then you should really enjoy this. I think you'll like it a lot. So there we go. Apple Frangipane Galette, very chic, very rustic, very easy, very messy, but still comes out beautifully. Look at that. and easy as galette. Thank you for joining me in the kitchen today. If you've enjoyed this video at all, please give it a like, consider subscribing to the channel, comment down below on your favorite apple recipes. Maybe I'll consider giving some more a try. This one wasn't half bad. If nothing else, comment hashtag weigh your ingredients. That would help with the YouTube algorithm and helping get other people to my channel, which of course will just help me tremendously. And thank you for being here, and happy baking!